So Ken is set to guard jump, which is pretty important. And the reason for this is because if you have perfect pressure, minus that up kicks at the end, Ken is not going to jump. He's not going to be able to. And the reason for this is because of how frame data works in this game. Now, for a beginner, understanding the frame data isn't really necessary, just why some things work. This move is very plus, crouching light kick. It's plus 13. So essentially what's happening here is that before your opponent gets the opportunity to jump, you're hitting them with something else, so you can keep them in pressure, infinitely. So this is a little bit harder to showcase with other buttons, but when you're doing it with just crouching light kick, there's a chance that you're going to be pushed back too far, that you walking up to do another crouching light kick is basically going to force a frame trap. Because as you can see, Ken is going to jump, and when I don't do this correctly, he's either going to jump it or he's going to get hit by the crouching light kick as he's jumping. So understanding that is why the particular strings that we're going to be showing work, is because they're meant to keep your opponent in block stun long enough for you to eventually go for Zempo Tenshin. So while recovery canceling is a very sort of advanced understanding to Geneijin and the pressure strings, it's something that's very important to understand why certain things are done and how they function. So basically, the normal pressure string that you would see is this, right? Close standing medium punch and a crouching light kick. However, if you don't do the recovery cancel, which is to do down light kick and then tap forward, and then go in for the close standing medium punch, like you're walking, then you're going to end up at a very far distance, which means that you have to walk a lot to be able to get your Zempo Tenshin, and that's not what you want. So this same exact thing functions off of crouching light kick, where eventually you have enough time that you're able to walk forward enough off of your crouching light kicks to advance to get your Zempo Tenshin. Now, doing this sort of a thing makes it very apparent what your goal is, so mixing things up is very important. But the concept of recovery canceling is also shown off of blocked normals. So if you look at how far away I'm pushed, our shadows are not touching, our feet are not touching, nothing. Where if I tap forward at the end, I'm in Zempo Tenshin range. So that sort of thing matters a lot. So no Zempo, Zempo. So this applies to all different types of pressure strings. It even applies to far standing medium punch and a crouching light kick if that's what is going on. But you have to know how you can use that to your advantage and how to bridge the gap so that you can get into a range to threaten your opponent. So close standing medium punch and a crouching light kick is pretty simple. You do it, and then you tap forward and hold forward after the crouching light kick so that you get into range for a close standing medium punch before your frame advantage off of the crouching light kick runs out. Now, this keeps you very close for Zempo Tenshin, and that is one of the more important things. It also uses a move that is plus 4 into a move that is plus 13. So you can add slight delays between your close standing medium punch and your crouching light kick, as in not doing it as a cancel, but actually like taking a micro step forward and then doing the crouching light kick, because no matter what, you will be out of throw range for pretty much every character in the game after the close standing medium punch inside of Geneijin. Some characters may be able to Kara throw you, but that is a huge risk because Kara throwing adds an extra frame to the throw animation. So that is the first sort of string, and you can do this up to 10 times in a row before your Geneijin ends. Each one takes about approximately a second. So the next thing is crouching light kick into crouching light kick. Just like crouching light kick, close to medium punch, crouching light kick, you need that micro step forward to stay in range. Because if you try to do it too quickly, you end up getting pushed far away just like this. And when you get pushed far enough away, you have to take more than one step to get your Zempo tension, which is no bueno. So mixing things up is very important. Because it gives you variation between crouching moves and standing moves. And not just going for this, because this is something that they have to block. It is a red parry. You doing just short, 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 short means that it opens up down parries for your opponent. And close standing medium punch, or far standing medium punch technically, can hit them if they decide to down parry. So when you are mixing things up, it's important to know that there is a timing difference. When you do 3 sets of close to the medium punch, crouch light kick, it is the same as doing close to the medium punch, crouch light kick into walk forward, short, short. And the reason is because the time difference that you have for this is 1 second, and then 2 of these is equal to 1.5 seconds. If you're doing them at the correct recovery canceling timing. You can do them much faster, but again, the spacing that you get put at when you do it in this manner changes. Because you end up getting pushed back a little bit more, and you have to walk forward more in order to get to the close standing medium punch. But this is where sort of frame traps and things exist, but it also leaves you open technically to throws in some cases. So just getting the idea that mixing up between the two can make the difference between your opponent just guess parrying out and allowing you to confirm in certain situations. Because they might think that you're going to be going high, or they might think that you're going to be going for, a Zempo, and doing a crouching leg kick into crouching leg kick at a slightly off timing may catch their jump. So, standing leg kick has a lot of different uses. It can be used as a frame trap, which opens up close standing medium kick, which may hit your opponent and launch them. It can be used as a frame trap to allow you to go in for a very far walk into close standing medium punch, crouch leg kick. And it can also be used as a frame trap to do the same thing with crouching light kick, walking in and doing short short or something. But its main use is to cover distance. Now what I mean by that is because if you look, it hits from very far away, but you can just hold forward like I'm doing here, and it will recovery cancel on its own by walking forward during your Geneijin. So this allows you, at the risk of being high-low parried, to continue your walk forward and allow you to get into Zempo range. Whether it's coming from a far standing medium punch to go right back into Zempo range from a walk forward light kick and a crouch light kick, or whatever. You can also use it in other situations to set up universal overheads, which is not something I'll be covering in this video, but they do exist. So the main purpose of this is a tool to allow you to sort of play with distances, because the pushback up close is not any further than a close standing medium punch would be inside of Geneijin. It's both about the same, where you're right at like the edge of Ken's foot as an example, but it allows you to use that to get more frame advantage to walk forward, because like I said before, this is a +9 move, and this is a +4 move, and this is a +9 move. So you can, walk forward a little bit more after a close standing light kick than you can after a close standing medium punch. And that's pretty much how it's used. It does have some other functions that are very specific to some matchups, but those will be covered in advanced videos. So forward Fierce Punch. Very strong because it's an auto frame trap. Now what do I mean by that? It's only +6, and with a 2 frame difference, you can use other tools to frame trap your opponent either with highs or lows. So the most common choices are with holding forward after the forward Fierce and then going for a standing medium punch at a slight delay, or doing it off of a crouching medium kick. Now, the reason for this is because you can go crouching medium kick into forward Fierce, or you can go crouching medium kick into shoulder. And it's the same thing off of far standing medium punch. Both are viable options. There are a lot of other ways that you can approach it, like using walk forward stand light kick in order to get back into range for pressure. And there's more advanced ways that you can use it that'll be covered in another video. But for the most part, it's used as a way to get your opponent to guess between high-low and force them to stay blocking unless they want to risk getting hit and taking a decent amount of damage, especially in the corner. This is not as strong mid-screen because getting this, you're not actually going to be able to follow up properly. So mid-screen, it's not as strong as it is in the corner, unless you know your opponent's blocking and trying to get them to make a decision in a frame trap situation. However, you can use something else for that, which I'll be covering next. So, medium punch shoulder and heavy punch shoulder are, pretty strong inside of Geneijin, for very similar reasons to why forward Fierce is. Medium punch shoulder is +5, and you can micro step forward afterward and get pressure, either with a far standing medium punch, a crouching medium kick, or if you really want to try to make your way in, just like the other things, you can use a mixture of different pressure techniques, starting with walk forward, crouch, standing leg kick. Now, the other things that you can do is because it has a very high startup time, 8 frames and 10 frames, doing shoulder into another shoulder is technically a frame trap. So you have a lot of pushback after this, but it's fast enough that because of your plus frames, you will interrupt your opponent if they're trying to press any buttons. So, as an example, if you're doing medium punch shoulder, you are +5. And then another medium punch shoulder is 8 frames. So there's a 3-frame window where your opponent can hit you. In most things in the game that are that fast, like crouching light punch from Chun, will lose to shoulder because of the priority system in Third Strike. You're also not close enough for your opponent to actually be able to throw you. So there's very little risk other than the fact that it can be blue parried. Now, when you're doing it off of heavy punch shoulder, it's +3. So it means that there is less time for your opponent to, or less time for you to get extra decisions. But at the same time, it frame traps better because your opponent has less frames that they need to recover. So a heavy punch shoulder allows you to get that micro step forward into range and usually beat out pretty much anything that your opponent can do. Now, shoulders can come from all sorts of different buttons, and you can use them after a forward Fierce in the same way that you could use it after a medium punch shoulder as a frame trap. So using forward Fierce is +6, and then they have 2 frames to do something. Those 2 frames are the perfect amount of time if they're trying to jump away. So if they think that you're going to do something that will allow them to jump after the fact, then they're going to get hit. Now, because of how much pushback these have and how long they actually take to use and come out, you know, you can only do 8 of them for a 10-second, you know, bar. So using them sparingly can be strong, but just using them a bunch is not ideal. Now, it can be canceled into off of a bunch of things. Bar standing medium punch, crouching medium kick. You can even do standing light kick into medium punch shoulder, and crouching light kick into medium punch shoulder. Now, crouching medium kick works, bar stand fierce works, and like I said, you can use it as a frame trap after a forward fierce. So it's very strong, and you can also just bait your opponent into just standing there and then walk forward something. So, forward medium kick. Inside of Geneijin is a 13 frame overhead. Universal overhead is also 13 frames. And this is important because 13 frames is right at the brink of non-reactability. So you have to look for other cues in order to see when your opponent wants to do this. However, you can cancel it off of highs and lows. If you're doing it off of a low medium kick cancel, you have to hit medium kick and light kick for a reason that I'm not going to discuss. Just trust me on this. I'll cover it in a more advanced video later, but it is what it is. You can do it off of, close standing heavy punch, far standing fierce punch, etc. You can use it after frame trap things like forward fierce or shoulder. While the move has a high startup, you're off the ground relatively soon, and the pushback for the things that are frame traps don't really make you all that worried about it. So even the strongest players in the world like MOV, who can normally react with down jab, will get hit by this. I've seen Issei hit so many Chun-Lis with it. It's a strong move that is underutilized now because there are players that can deal with it. There are some matchups in specific, though, where it's not as useful because there is more inherent risk behind it. Now, while it is strong against Chun-Li, or not strong against Chun-Li because of her down jab, it's also not strong against Chun-Li because if they block it, she gets Kara back throw. However, there's a lot of different options that come in situations where you would use this. So it becomes a risk for your opponent, and it basically means that they have to react to it, which is very difficult. It's like dealing with Dudley's dart shot, his forward roundhouse. It's very hard to react to. So you have to react to the situation. So, you can do all sorts of different strings to make this work for you. Or you can put yourself out of range of things, and then you can use it by walking back and forth. Or instead of doing, pressure, you can just walk forward and do it during your pressure instead. Now, why this is so strong is because, as you can see, the damage is 14. So it's between 11 and 14 depending on what point in the opponent's life bar they're at because of the damage scaling. It also depends on character because certain characters scale moves more based on their defense percent. So the characters that make this very difficult to use are Ken, Dudley, Hugo, and Q, and Chun-Li. Like I said, Chun-Li can down jab it on reaction. She can back throw you on block in the corner because of the pushback maybe a little bit further in the mid-screen. And then Q can Kara back throw you as well on block and on hit. So it's relatively risky. Hugo is risky because if you do universal overhead, as an example, or if you do forward medium kick, he can SPD you, or he can super with Gigas on hit or on block. Now, at a mid to low level, this will never happen. At the highest of levels, this is something you'll have to be more cognizant of. But it is a move that, because of the variation that you can use during your pressure strings, can make all the difference in the world. And it's also a way that you can open your opponent up by forcing them to block highs, which allows lows to be open. It's also another way just to make, walking a little bit more of a threat as well. So when using this move, there's all sorts of ways it can be used, and if you're using it in pressure strings, and let's say you hit them 3 times, that's equal to a mid-damage, late Zempo ender. You may not get the bar from the ender itself, but if you get a combination of 4 medium kicks during your pressure, and then Zempo toward the end, then you can get upwards of 60 damage, which is still a lot. It only takes, 3 of those to kill your opponent. The rule of 3 exists. 3 Zempos and they die. So another thing is that when you are far away, whether you're using this button, which I haven't told you to use yet, but it is an option, or you're doing a shoulder or a far standing medium punch, you have the ability to jump forward. Now, I'm not going to cover all of the options that you can do in this. It's going to be its own video. But, you can, jump forward and dive kick, or there's a variety of choices that you have from this. And then you can also neutral jump. And mix things up that way. Dive kick is not your only choice. Again, there will be another video going over all of that. Let's show some examples.